Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Rational Republic. Today, I would like to talk to you about Chile. I have recently visited the capital, Santiago, and also the cities of Valparaiso, which is on the Pacific coast, and Viña del Mar, which is a town right next to Valparaiso. Um, Chile is a very interesting country in South America, and it was the last country that I visited um, in the line of Brazil first, and then Argentina, and then Uruguay, and then Chile, the last one. And it's very, very interesting to make comparison between because when you go quickly from one country to another, you see the differences between these countries very contrasting very hard, very obvious. And I have to say that Santiago in Chile, the capital of Chile, to me, it looked like the most modern city out of all the cities that I've visited, which have been Rio, Montevideo, Buenos Aires, and Santiago, the capitals. Chile is a country of about 20 million people, plus or minus, and its total GDP is around 350 billion US dollars. So it's pretty much comparable to an Eastern European country, let's say, for example, like Romania. Um, but the population is, let's say, they don't have the same purchasing power as the Eastern Europeans do. It's a little bit less, and it's a little bit more unequal. So my first impression of the country was landing in the Santiago airport, and it was a very beautiful, very nice and modern airport, um, more modern than Rio de Janeiro or Buenos Aires. The airport was, it looked like it could have been in, I don't know, any modern European or American airport. It was really nice. And another thing, I in the airport at the exit, I ordered an Uber and I was picked up by a brand new car. And I noticed the big difference. For example, in Brazil, when I picked up from the airport, I was picked up by an old car. Um, Similar, I could say about Argentina as well. Also, the taxis in Montevideo and Uruguay were a bit older, but here in in Chile in Santiago, all the taxis were pretty much like new or new, and a lot of them were Chinese brands. A lot of electric Chinese cars or hybrids. So you could see that the stock of cars was more modern in Chile. So immediately it gives the impression of a more open economy to do business with the world. And probably I would assume that they don't have these protectionist tariffs or taxes that prohibit imports of cars like Brazil or Argentina did until not so long ago. So that's the first thing. I could see that the taxi drivers were clean, nicely dressed. The cars were clean and nice and modern. The roads were pretty good. I remember the road from the airport to Santiago was really nice. Um, and Santiago as well is a big, big city. It's about 8 million people. And just driving around the city and or walking around it or having a look at the buildings, you will see there's a lot of modern high rises, uh, a lot of apartment buildings, a lot of office buildings, skyscrapers, and it's really quite unexpected. The streets are clean. I haven't seen homeless people sleeping in front of apartment buildings like I have in, especially in Brazil. Not so much in Argentina, but you do see a few homeless people in the city center of Buenos Aires as well, but nothing like that in Santiago in Chile. They do have a lot of European style buildings. First of all, they have the old type, like the Spanish colonial type from the 16, 1700s. And then they have some nice, beautiful, stately buildings like the, let's say, Art Nouveau type, like Parisian style architecture, especially prevalent in the city center. For example, the National Library is such a beautiful example of this. So they have a few buildings like this. The also the Museum of Art, very beautiful building. So it really gives a nice impression in the city center to see this mix of old colonial style buildings, and also more, let's say, late 19th, early 20th century style architecture, European buildings. It's really, really nice. Um, and mixed among these are high-rise apartments and nice, big, beautiful steel tower office buildings like towers and skyscrapers and such. Also, one of the interesting things is um, which is kind of contrasting with this all this wealth of nice buildings, as far as the eyes can see in all directions, um, is something that kind of shocked me, but it was quite interesting to see, which I have only seen in Europe in one place, which is the Republic of Moldova. Is people a lot of people were selling stuff um, on well, if let's say if we exclude in Western Europe African illegal immigrants selling fake goods on towels in the middle of the street. So put those aside. Uh, the only other place I've seen locals selling stuff like clothing or other things in the middle of the street was in the Republic of Moldova, and obviously they do it there because the population is quite poor, so they do it as a means to sustain their, to increase their incomes to be able to survive. And something similar to this I've seen in in Santiago. So it's quite it's a big contrast, So I had to ask myself this question: why is it that on the one hand you have, as far as the eye can see, because there's like two or three nice viewing points in the city center, in the city. So there's San Cristobal viewing place where there's a big statue in the middle of the city, and you can see all around, as far as the eye can see, until the Andes Mountains, how far the city stretches, and all these big buildings. You can see it from the Santa Lucia Hill, or you can actually go on top of the tallest building in South America, which is Sky Costanera. I think it's about 300 meters up to the rooftop, and from there as well, you have a stunning view of Santiago in all directions, especially if you go at sunset. So you get to see this vast city with so many skyscrapers and buildings and all that, and it really looks like a really prosperous city, and it is in many ways. But then you have to ask yourself the question: why is it that you have so many people in the city center area trying to squeeze out a living by selling, random stuff on the pavement? And I had to check it out, and it turns out that Chile, yes, is probably, if not the most prosperous, one of the most prosperous countries in Latin America. Um, but all this wealth is not evenly distributed or evenly produced, let's say. So you have, let's say, 10% of people at the top who control about 50% of the national wealth, and you have a lot of people on the bottom that live with $500 a month or less. So because of this, you have a situation where there's a part of society which has really good living standards, and enjoys, really good real estate and properties. And even though the city is quite well managed, clean, and well built throughout, you have a large number of people that find it quite hard to manage living. month to month or day to day. And because of this, they also have a problem with criminality. Mind you, it's not as bad as other Latin American countries. So by Latin American standards, it's one of the most safe countries, and Santiago, one of the most safe cities in Latin America. But still, you have quite a reasonable number of people that live hard with not enough resources, and a small number of those probably are um, tempted into crime, I suppose. So I had an Airbnb right on the edge of the city center, to just on the opposite side of the National Library building and the Saint Lucia or Santa Lucia viewing hill or viewing place. Um, and just outside of the hotel was a tube station. And there was always big flow of people going through there. And every day when I would get out of the hotel, I would see um, four, five, six, this big group of municipal police trying to keep an eye on everything. And actually, one morning, I saw these people trying to sell I don't know, t-shirts or clothing on this carpet, which was or blanket, which was spread in the middle of the street. And at 8:30 in the morning or so, this policeman on a motorcycle just came in fast, and all these people were, grabbed their stuff and tried to run away, not to be caught doing anything, selling illegal stuff. Or I suppose, I'm not sure if the stuff they were selling was illegal, or the act in itself of selling it in the street without authorization was illegal, which probably it was. So yeah, there was this sense in Santiago in Chile that um, it was a possibility of crime happening, or theft, I suppose, all the time. So even though to me, I guess at least the streets felt safe, there was this slight bit of energy and tension in the street where you had to scan and look around and make sure everything was okay, and nothing dodgy was happening, I suppose. And one interesting thing is almost all the taxi drivers told me, do not go in the city center after dark. This was really strange because I've been to the city center, I think twice at that point. During daytime, there was police there. There was nice tourist attraction. There's a beautiful cathedral. There's a few nice museums. There's benches and palm trees and restaurants. So I thought, wow, I mean, it looked pretty safe in the evening. But the first taxi driver told me not to go there. Second one, third one of them actually told me, I don't even pick up customers from the city center at night. I was like, this is really strange. I said, so why not? How can it be so safe during the day and so completely unsafe once the sun sets? And they told me, I mean, because you think, uh, if there's police there, is there no police after evening? Like, do they run away scared or anything? But no, they told me because in the city center, there's no residents, so there's no residential buildings. It's all just businesses and um, official buildings of the government and stuff like that. Once the uh, working hours finish, then everyone goes home, and basically the whole city center becomes a deserted place, and there's no police present, and then the risk of crime is much higher. And I wasn't willing to test it, so I believed them because if quite a few, if actually all the taxi drivers tell you that in Santiago, you tend to believe them. But what's really interesting is just 100 meters in another direction, from the city center, like literally like 2 streets over, there was an area with restaurants and bars and people walking around until late, which was completely safe. And I actually asked them, so if I asked the taxi drivers, if I go to this area called La Staria, will that be safe? And they are completely safe. So city center, just 100 meters the other direction, completely unsafe. Yes, completely unsafe. It's just really strange for me to, to process as a European. In most European cities you can go to city centers and basically not have any problems. Go to nice restaurants or no issues there. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, Chile is quite an interesting country from this point of view. Very beautiful nature. You have the Andes Mountains, and then you have about, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 kilometers from the Andes, which is the border with Argentina, to the Pacific Ocean. And basically, that's the whole country from north to south, stretches like that for, I don't know, 1,000 miles or something like that, something crazy. Yeah, lovely country. Um, you don't really know where to put it. Is it developing? Is it a developing country? Is it a developed country? Is it a poor country? Because you have these bits and pieces. You have like really nice areas. I mean, the whole city of Santiago, it looks pretty decent in my opinion. But definitely you have this area with skyscrapers and new buildings. It's actually called Sanhattan from Manhattan. It's like the New Yorkish part of Santiago. You have a quite decent city center, but because you have this big inequality, you have a kind of a poor Latin American vibe going on, with people trying to survive, even though it's not as bad as I said as Brazil or Argentina. You don't see many homeless people, uh, especially not sleeping in the streets like you can see in Rio. But still, there's this feeling that you have to be careful. It's a nice enough society, it's a decent society. I think if you make a decent income, you can have a European standard of life in Chile as well. Um, but yeah, there's definitely areas where you have to be a bit more careful, and even in the city center, you can't really walk around at night because it can be unsafe. But I think this is one of the reasons why they recently voted a quite hard right government, and I have to say I did see an increased police presence in the streets, which is always good to see. So yeah, I think that the Chileans, they have a open, quite productive economy, which looks out into the world, and it has an optimistic outlook for the future of Chile and its economy. Um, but as well, they don't have the social safety nets that you see in European countries. So that's why you have this super productive end of the country, which 10% of the country produces about 50% of the wealth, and at the bottom you have large part, let's say half of the population, which lives on $500 a month or less. Now, many people say that this is the legacy of the Chicago boys free market ideology, which was this team from University of Chicago, the team of economists that came down to Chile to advise the government. Um, and yeah, you can say from one point of view they have been successful. The country is definitely much better than many other Latin American countries. Um, and in the last 30 years, let's say, or 36 years, it's been a stable country and quite investable. Um, but from the other point of view, you can say that this slight, let's say, risk of unsafety or protests is because there's a large portion of the bottom of the population which doesn't earn enough money, and it can be quite an expensive country for them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I'll leave you with this one uh, anecdote or something I noticed, which was quite interesting. On the last day of me being in Santiago in Chile. I remember packing the bags and taking the elevator down from the 24th floor to the ground level to get to the taxi. And in the elevator, there was in the elevator with us, there was this young guy in a nice suit, you know, and I can see him looking in the mirror in the elevator, and kind of arranging his tie and arranging his hair, and and I thought maybe the guy is going to an interview, and so I asked him, "Are you going to an interview?" 'Cause I was curious, and he said, "No, no, no, I have an exam in Roman law at the University of Law in Santiago," and to me it looked like he was really keen to do a good job, you know. So it left me with this impression. And by the way, the young guy was a mestizo guy, and I forgot to mention this: the population in Chile is about 70% mestizo, which is a mix between Europeans and natives. There's also about a 10% native population, especially in the south. And there's also, depends how you count it, about 20 to 30% ethnic European population. But to me, it felt that the culture of the society was quite European. So it was really impressive to see that this majority mixed, racially mixed population, this mestizo population, really adopted the European culture and produced a good, decent country to and prosperous country to live in, especially by the standards of Latin America. So this mestizo kid, by the fact that he prepared and he was quite keen to do a good job in passing the law exam in Roman law, gave me the impression that the mestizo population really incorporated the European culture, um, and also felt it important that they have strong institutions, and you can see that these strong institutions are uh, makes Chile such a stable economy and good culture, and and a country with a good outlook towards the future. So yeah, all in all, I was positively surprised by Chile, the capital Santiago, and the other two cities I have seen. So you can see why, if you are an investor, an international investor, you would think that Chile is a good place, a good safe bet for the future, and a place to park your money. And I would say, if you guys want to visit Chile as well, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful country. I don't know of any other country where you can have the Andes Mountains with snow, 4,000, 5,000 meters, and in about an hour and a half to be down at the beach and see the majestic Pacific. So yeah, very beautiful country. Obviously, I didn't have time to visit all of it, but I've seen Santiago, Valparaiso, and Viña del Mar, which is a nice cluster of cities in the middle of the country. As you go more north, the country gets drier, you get more desert. You go more south, the country gets more greener and a bit colder as well. And it's where a lot of Europeans live as well. So yeah, beautiful country. Definitely recommend visiting it. Nice people, good food. Only good positive things to say about Chile. Maybe they could use with reducing the inequality in some way, just by a little bit. I'm not a socialist. I'm not a communist, but I do think that to have a decent society, a good place to live in, it's good if you help, a little bit, give a bit of a safety net to the bottom part of the population. That makes it evens it out a little bit, so it's a nicer place to live even for the rich people, who then will not fear revolutions or being robbed or stuff like that. So and also it's good for political stability. So yeah, that's me, that's Chile, and thank you for viewing, and see you next time. Take care. Oh, and yeah, you can see this Santiago de Chile with the Sky Costanera Tower. Okay, take care, guys.